I was still
Dixie's muted.
muted. Hi,
Yay!
everybody. Welcome to the Bodhana Group Branch
Very
Writers
good.
panel. Let's try that again. Uh,
Happy birthday!
this is a panel that we've done at most of these cons. Y'all are maybe familiar with it, but now we have a whole ass book that got made that we can talk about, which is very exciting. I'm Dixie Cochran. Y'all have seen me around. I did not actually work on Branch Writers, but I am here to facilitate the conversation. Jack, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I am Jack Berkenstock Jr., MHS. I am the executive director, one of the founders of the Bodhana Group, and I was the project manager, project lead, whatever highfalutin title I'm shopping this week, of the Branch Riders RPG. So,
Grand Poobah.
Grand
And
Poop, I like that.
Rich.
I'm Rich Thomas, founder and creative director of Onyx Path Publishing. Yay!
Woo! And long time friend of Jack's.
Yes, I believe it is our 15th year of being friends.
Aw.
You know,
Yeah.
friends,
As long as my checks keep going through, we're fine.
acquaintances. Oh,
Workmates at best.
I know we're getting to the end of the panels today, but if people are watching and have any questions for Jack, Rich, or myself, please put them in the chat, especially about branch riders. So let's go ahead and do kind of a little basic, because people should know who we are by now. But
We
let's do
should.
a little what is the Banana Group, what is branch riders?
Yeah, I can give definitely the elevator
okay.
pitch on all of that. At Bodhana, we use all manner of tabletop board games and RPGs for therapy, skill building, and education. As we like to say, the Bodhana Group play, learn, expand. So that covers anything from direct groups using RPGs or board games to summer camps, which are starting this month in our local store area.
That's cool.
To Oh my gosh, it's going to be so much fun. Learn, which is our professional training and consultation arm. So we will teach you if you're a professional in schools, therapy, etc. We will help bring board games or RPG into your practice and teach you how to get the most effective use out of it. And the expand extends to a couple different things. We have a very robust donation program that has been thriving over pretty much actually since the last Onyx Path Virtual Con, which we call Give Meeples to the Peoples. And what we do is this year alone, we've received about $140,000 in board game donations from major companies, local donors. People give us their wall of shame. And we pretty much rehome it, give it to local schools, libraries, other nonprofits, so that they can also benefit from having robust game libraries. Expand also as we do a lot of local programming. One of the things I'm very proud to talk about is we are currently working with a nonprofit called Roll to Heal. It is a nonprofit completely started and being run by veterans, and they are aiming to create groups for veterans and first responders, specifically utilizing role playing games. So we are currently looking for funding sources and funding streams to help augment the training costs that we want to provide so that even though it's not a therapy oriented group that they're running, we still want to make sure to provide, proper safeguards and considerations for this. I'll say it direct. My father was a veteran of Vietnam. He was on the Forrestal. I also have worked with many first responders over my years. It's something we're very passionate about, and we really, really want to help get their program started. So if you are a veteran or first responder, please look them up. Roll to the number heal. You can find them all over the place on social media. And if you're interested in helping sponsor that initiative, please email the Bodhana Group at all the links you have found this weekend. And on that side, thanks also to everyone who either has or will donate to support us. You help fund our trips to Origins. You help fund the services of kids and persons who can't afford group or allow them to get it at a reduced rate. There's a lot those dollars go to, and that's pretty much the wheels a nonprofit runs on is financial support. So, like a PBS station running a marathon to West End or East Enders, thank you.
EastEnders. So, and also, I do want to point out that considering the time frame and considering what's been going on with defunding, um, the more individuals can help out these nonprofit situations, the better all the way around because some of the organizations have really been hit hard by losing funds, and Bodhana has persevered, fortunately. Um, and in fact, here we are with Jack and being here at the 2025 Onyx Path Virtual Con.
Yeah, we've been here since the beginning.
This is year 6. Crazy to think about.
Oh my lord, it is. So does that
Yep.
wait? So this isn't our sixth. So we had a Bodhana panel back then, but we did not have a branch riders panel because back then there weren't none branch riders.
The gears were still going.
Yes.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the history of the game and how it came to be?
Sure. So for those not in the know, Branch Riders originally started as an idea for a game that I had based on a lot of the trainings that we do where we talk to professionals and we train them on how to integrate RPG. And the biggest question we kept getting over and over was, how do you know like what stories to come up with? Like how do you know how to create all of these worlds and everything? And we were like, well, there's lots of ways that we know. I mean, most of it's intuitive to what the client is interested, but as usual, I kind of like sat back and said, all right, let me examine this question. Maybe what people mean is, how do you mix the therapy with the narrative? That's kind of where I thought most people are going, which is a good question because, your standard D&D adventure or whatnot, people aren't like, oh, I see where the therapy goes in here. They don't. So we thought at the time we had these little chibi characters from the convention at the time that we ran Save Against Fear. And each one of them represented an area of gaming that we felt was beneficial, whether it was resilience, social skills, educational goals. And these were all areas that just the use of gaming alone could really be fundamental to someone. So we had all these little cute chibi characters. And over the years, we kind of developed this little world that they were living in. It was nothing at all serious. But I said, wait a minute, we have a world that we've kind of built up. What if we got serious about this? Like, what if we built worlds around therapeutic concepts so that if you are a therapist or practitioner, or even a parent that wants to use gaming with your kids at home for just good generalized instruction and stuff, how would we build this together in a way that you could do a story that is very naturally conducive to talking about social skills or maybe even going deeper, what you put out there in social media, how it kind of lives there forever now. So you got to be careful about what it is that you're seeing, what is it that you're saying. We get so many conversations about what is true out there, so many memes. Well, cite your sources. I'm like, it's a Facebook post. It's not it's not my friggin' thesis. Calm down. But so we thought, let's combine these worlds and let's really build them around. And as we always kind of joke when we had the OG team, which was James, the Captain Kirk, myself, Dave Johnson, who sadly is no longer with us. Man, was it over the head. It was so heavy-handed. And I was like, game? So we talked to Rich.
Is there a game in here, or is this so therapy centric that you have to be somebody involved in that to get where you're going?
Yeah, and I think the first conversation I had was, Rich and I talked about it briefly, and he's like, hey, why don't you go talk to Eddie? And I had already worked with Eddie on another project, and I was like, yeah, heck yeah, I'll talk to Eddie. I love Pugmire, right? And Eddie was like, what's your game? He says, I get what you're doing. He's like, you have no skeleton to hang anything on here. He's like, you need a good game first, and then everything else will fall into place. And it's one of those conversations I hated hearing from adults when I was younger, even hearing from other adults when I was an adult. Trust me, it'll make sense when it happens. And we started by using fudge dice and this thing and that thing. And then we brought other members of the team, like we brought Doug Hagler on, and Eddie became a member of the design team as well. And we came up with this really great 3-die system, and we started, the worlds that we had built before, which were very on the head. Doug Hagler, he like took a hatchet and he was like, no, 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 no. This is all over the head, like, therapy, right? And he was like, these worlds have to make sense. They have to have narrative strength. They have to have an actual, yes, I could believe that this is a real thing. And once we kind of, like got rid of the chaff, I guess, so to speak, around these worlds, and they really became vibrant. And
I think you focused.
yeah, oh my gosh, laser focused with it, all became very organic. And then at that time we then started like playtesting these new rules, and I'll talk about that during the conversation, but it just over time we really realized how special what we designed was for many different reasons. So that was kind of the basis. It started out of a perceived need to help people create meaningful content, and we also wanted to avoid, even way back then, we there was a lot of friends and colleagues of ours who make quote unquote therapeutic games, and they're very guided towards therapeutic, and people are like, oh, that's a great kids game, and I'm like, we work with teens, we work with adults, right? So
yep.
We wanted this setting to be, yes, you could tell Saturday morning cartoon level stories. You could tell, CW teen young adult drama. You could tell dark stories in this game. That is not a limitation. And that was by design, because we want everyone to have the experience at the table. So we often also called it's a box of Lego. Like it's a big box of elements that you then put together yourself. Not that we don't give you some help to get started, right? But that was really kind of one of the ethos from the beginning, that we wanted it to be accessible, inspirational. We wanted to inspire narrative play, so we didn't want it to be heavy. I wanted people with no RPG experience to be able to pick up the game and be able to run with it, which is why it's a very sleek, basic system. There's not there's not 12 pages of gun porn in here where like you have all your equipment and whatever, and well, how many exactly is it? 1d4 versus 1d6? No, you have equipment, it does a thing. Just move on. Let's tell a story. And we found very good companionship with Onyx Path because of how narratively focused their entire catalog is. I mean, it's story paths. I mean, come on, folks. Like it felt very natural, the partnership. And I've said this before in panels, and the way that not only, Eddie, but Rich and the rest of the whole team, hey, you do your game, don't do our game, because we want you to shine. And that guidance and freedom married was just perfect. And I can't express the excitement we have that, I mean, by the end of this year, this game will be out. That's, unless something catastrophic happens, give me a piece of wood. All right, there we go.
Yep. No, I mean, we're talking layout formats. We were just doing that on Friday.
Yep.
A couple of days ago, Mirthful Mike and I were talking about, because we did a little bit to sort of hint at what it could be like for the crowdfunder, but now you got to get into the real, like, what does this book look like? And it's coming, and we get a few more pieces of art in that we're still waiting on, and I think we'll be good to go.
At this count, we have 2 full pieces we're waiting for from Bear Winters, our wonderful Blight artist. All the pieces from Gong are in. And I think Bear said he was going to touch up 1 or 2, which ain't going to take very long. So as soon as those are in, we'll be able to get those done and just, again, dive into layout. So I'm excited. I've wanted to be a writer since I was like 10 years old. And I wanted to make a role-playing game since I first started playing them at 12. So this is a dream.
Which game was that, Jack?
That was the Ghostbusters role-playing game from when you knew that answer.
I did know that answer.
Yeah, from West End Games, Pennsylvania grown. But yeah, so it's the culmination of a multiple different dreams, and we've run it in all of our therapeutic settings. Run branch riders. We have a colleague who's been running branch riders in an inpatient youth setting for about 2 years, and when kids are given the choice, hey, you have these 4 or 5 other games I won't mention openly on an on-air channel. What do you want to play? Is Branch Riders an option again? Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot there. I think one of the things we've kind of discussed at a few of our panels at this convention is the idea of how much structure versus how much freedom to tell your story do each of these games have, and I think Branch Riders does a very nice job of balancing that, because it also has to balance out the concept of under the hood, under the decorations, under the words, is all of your experiences with therapy and helping people, and how that's under there. It's not in your face,
Yeah.
but when you are, and I think we saw this at one of the panels last year, the year before last year, the year before that, where presented Branch Riders to a room full of professionals in therapy and that biz,
Mm-hmm.
and how they immediately caught on to the various aspects of it. The idea that the person running the game, storyteller, whatever term is used in Branch Riders right now, because I know it's not Curse Master.
No, it is. It is not. I think we just used just Game Master.
Yeah, I think it's just Game Master.
Game Master in Branch Riders. They don't. The Game Master doesn't roll dice.
Nope.
Because, and there's the people in the audience have immediately picked up on this, because you don't want to put an antagonistic situation between the person who's doing the help, giving you the help, and you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it also gives you the freedom as a game master to really focus on that element of the story. I mean, every
Sure.
aspect of this system is designed for narrative impact. Whether it's, when you go to do what your character wants to do, it's not, well, what optional moves do I have or whatever. It's like, no, just say what your character wants to do, and we'll apply it to one of the 5 approaches, which is what I think a pretty innovative way to do. It's not I'm using strength or dexterity or whatever. It's like, no, I'm being social, or I'm being observant, or I'm being knowledgeable. It's what is your motivation, or how are you going to literally approach?
Yeah, the approach is a great word for it.
And then from that, it's, well, what's your technique? Do you match a skill to that approach, or you use your gift, which is a special power that you bring from the home realm. And there's so many different, like if we would combine forceful plus art, which is an approach skill combo. Well, that could be a chainsaw sculpture, or that could be I'm critiquing an artist in an adventure to kind of like break them down a little bit for information, or it could be a rap battle, or it could be a poetry slam. Like the level of interpretation over these concepts that we kept very general.
Right.
We wanted to inspire that creativity and that exploration, so people could just do whatever you'd like to do. Like, just go nuts with it.
Do you think this is going to sound like a tangent, which is perfectly on point for this kind of panel. Do you watch the
Maybe
TV?
even started.
Do you watch the TV show Taskmaster?
Oh, I'd love to.
Okay. So I never made the connection until just now when you mentioned the rap battle. I was thinking of the season with Sophie Duker, where the whole task is like duel Alex, and everyone gets to decide what that means. And Sophie decides to do a rap battle. And like Taskmaster is actually a weirdly good example of picking your approach to do a thing. Because like some people do approach those tasks like very cerebrally, and some people try to brute force them, and some people are very creative. And like I had never thought of that as an example, but honestly the like dual Alex example might be a good YouTube clip to show people if they're not getting it.
Oh, even better is I don't know if you've heard of this, tangents aplenty. One of the things that does that's amazing is he just recently went to an elderly care facility.
I saw that.
Yeah, because he heard they played Taskmaster there to like stimulate the residents. He went there and like ran games for them and like crowned the oldest Taskmaster participant like ever. So I'm like, okay, with that analogy, we could get Alex Horn and Greg Davies to play Branch Riders, right? Yeah,
probably.
I wouldn't put it past you, Jack.
Hey, we know people in the UK. Why not? What's the lead? What's the worst he could say? No, but thank you.
I mean, based on the actors in UK TV shows, I assume they all know each other. So
yeah, it's the same 27 people on all shows.
Yep. Anyway, tangent, but like I had never made the connection until just now, and it made me excited.
But no, I like that analogy Dixie, because it really is like when we talk about like a skill and people think like in a role playing game, I'm fighting. Okay, typically that's, fisticuffs, it's putting up your dukes. We're like, no, no, no. Fighting might be what if you're being observant plus fighting? You're studying your opponent's fighting style to gain an advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Or what if you're planning strategy for like an invasion of a base, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're trying to study the lore of a fighting style, maybe you're trying to replicate something as a sign of respect
Right.
for like venerable master. You know what I mean? We want players, and this has been the resounding piece of response year after year after year that we've been playtesting this. People like, I did not feel constrained in this system. I felt that whatever I conceived of doing, you found a way to make those dice say, yeah, you could try and you could do this. And it challenges people, you know what I mean, to come up with more creative, like they try to break it in a way that's creative.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that we had a question. Do we want to do that now?
No, we wait till a little bit later.
Okay.
Usually we do them near the end. I'm just compiling any questions that we get in the chat.
Sure, sure. And gifts operate the same way. I mean, a gift is a trope because everything is genre based. So it's a Western realm, it's a sci-fi, it's a steampunk,
Noir.
post-apocalyptic, zombie apocalypse. The Last of Us, sponsored by Red Bull. That's our joke for 5 years, and we're sticking to it. But even with a gift, like most books, they'll say like, "Here's the Cloud of Blades" or whatever spell, right? It does a cloud of blades in this area of effect. That's it. We're like, well, no, your gift is pyrokinesis. Well, how can I use it? How would you like to use it? Can I fly like the Human Torch? Absolutely. Make a roll. Can I use it to start a fire? Sure. That's what we would call a free use of the power.
Mm-hmm.
So you can use it free just for yourself against one other person or for the entire world. So we gave you a variety of ways that you could utilize the power, again, inspiring creativity. And I guess the only biggest major is the exposure tracker. Again, I don't want to keep going over stuff we've already talked about, but there may be new people hearing it.
Absolutely. And we're touching at it from another direction, which is that, as Dixie pointed out at the beginning, we've run the crowdfunder. The text is done.
Yeah,
we know what we're doing for the next couple of months or half a year, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then people are going to be able to get their PDF copies. We'll review those, put the PDODs out there to the backers and then to the real world. And boom, you're going to be seeing Jack and Company at various conventions and things with stacks of books on their booth shelf and be able to pick these things up. So even if people are just popping in to find out a little bit more about it, they haven't gotten engaged with it yet. This is a really repetition of information from a new direction.
Good thing. Yeah. And I mean, again, I think the biggest thing is, when we're talking about it here, this is a road tested system. Like we've been play testing it we've done it at Origins, PAX Unplugged, local cons, local game stores. We've done multiple online play tests for years, as well as, like I said, in our actual therapy groups, in recreational. We have friends that have run this just for regular groups at local libraries, just for funsies. And all of those elements, actually a really fun story. Like I know that people talk about, well, what engine do you use? And we're like, I don't know, it's its own game. Well, apparently for one of our facilitators who's been running it, he is now actually running like Call of Cthulhu and Kids on Bikes using the Branch Rider system. And I was like, we have an engine? And he's like, dude, there's no more perfect way to run like a horror adventure than the exposure tracker. You ratchet up the terror, you're more terrified, so you're less likely to succeed, so you're rolling a lower die. And I was like, okay, we weren't thinking engine when we started, but why not? I mean,
there are versions of like an exposure tracker, or like I think in Call of Cthulhu they have the like madness stuff.
Yep.
I'm currently in a game with some friends. That's a D&D setting called Drakenheim. And Drakenheim has an exposure tracker because you can't stay near the horrible meteor for too long, or you might start mutating. But like that kind of system, any kind of like exposure slash timing system can have really good effect on players because it does give you a sense of urgency that you often don't have in either tabletop or video games. Like, so many video games, you like drop in and they're like, okay, the world will end in 3 days if you don't do this, and you're like, side quests.
Yes.
What? I saw a puppy. I want to go see a puppy.
Yeah, yeah. So like, it's nice to actually have the sense of urgency. I know that anecdotally that messed a lot of people up when the Cyberpunk DLC dropped for the video game, because they have a quest, and if you accept the quest, which is to save the president, and then you don't do it, she dies, and you can't do the DLC. And everybody's like, wait, what? I thought I had unlimited time. And it's like, a rocket with the president is about to crash. I don't think you understand. You cannot go kill a cyber psycho right now. But yeah.
New York.
It's where's the flexibility in the gaming? And if you're used to a lot of flexibility, that's a stunner. That's a what?
Yeah, yeah. But like, I mean, a minute ago, you kind of said like, some people are even playing it just for funsies. I think the hope is that most people who are playing it are going to be playing it just for funsies. Right. And then some therapists will also be using it in their practices. But the game is fun without the therapy angle, and that's something that we've really tried to drill down on. It wouldn't
be as compelling to the groups that they've been playing it with. When they say playtesters, it's not just friends that are playtesters. This is conventions where people are coming and sitting down.
Yep,
trying it out.
People.
And all the kids they've been helping out by using this as the game that they are helping during their sessions. The kids aren't going in there going, well, actually, I understand that this obviously is referring to my little neuroses that we discussed previously.
Yeah, you don't get that
like,
as an 11.
Oh man, I get to jump up and run up that wall. Yeah. Here we go.
So I get to slide down the side of this building on banana skis? Yeah, sure. Why does my character have a banana sword? Because you wanted one. If you can do that, why not? It's sure. I mean, an exposure. I actually have a pretty funny story about exposure.
Go for it.
So very, very recently, we were running one of our therapy groups where we developed the exposure tracker, not only as like a time element thing, but it's also, the more chaos goblin-y you get, the more attention you draw to yourself. So it's kind of that, you're a secret mission force. You're not military necessarily, but it's, leave only footprints, take only photographs. And the exposure tracker basically is how close are you to finishing your objective and how much does the bad guy know that you're there. So our whole goal, of course, was, we have this curtain and it separates all the realms so you can't reveal that there are other realms. And again, the narrative convention is, you don't want to tear the curtain because, you tear the curtain, the worlds are going to collide and they're going to incursion, blah, blah. It's bad. So I was not at all surprised. I was quite titillated, in fact, when one of our teen groups is like, what happens when you break the curtain? And I was like, they're totally tearing the curtain. Like, that's a team goal now. And it's opened up so many questions that, a lot of times in role-playing games, there are not a lot of real consequences, which I think is a failing of a lot of RPG, even, especially recreationally. Like, I murder hoboing my way across the countryside, and there's no comeuppance for this? Well, the bad guy might get you. No. What happens if an inn isn't going to give me a room because I'm like, I'm not having the 37 warlords whose fathers you've killed come here to my town because I give you a room. Mm-hmm. But with the kids, they tore the curtain in the terminal because one of the players told Zepto there are other realms. Zepto is the malevolent AI that controls the terminal, and now the curtain's tore open. So we're like, well, what realm is he going to go to? Is he going to infect the technology of Kate Book from the Heights? Is he? And the kids are now more intrigued.
Zepto.
Yeah, exactly, because they've broken the world, and now they're indebted to fix it. And I love that idea of there being real important consequences, and that exposure tracker shows if you just keep shoving your face in other people's faces, people are going to start to watch you more often. Mm-hmm. And that makes you less prone to be successful, but it's also comic book pacing or movie pacing. It always gets dire up until the last 10, 15, 20 minutes of a movie. right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's dramatic tension. It's an in-game engine. So there's so many benefits that came out of it. Just people love it.
Woo.
I'm so excited talking about. I love this game so much.
No,
Oh,
I'm totally, and that's good. Like if you make a game and you hate it, then you're not maybe didn't make the best version of it.
but that is true. That is true. But even our damage, we don't use hit points. We use a condition cards, which
Yep.
narratively allows you to say like, "How you doing over there? I'm hurt." And there are cards that you can get that'll be available when the game releases. That printable cards that sit on your character sheets. You look around the table. If you see a bunch of red, it's bad. People are hurting.
Yep.
But literally, we've made damage conversation meta okay
Yeah.
to say how your character's doing. So yeah, there's
Well, because they can read your condition via the same device, the tracker.
yep.
Which makes sense though, because like I can tell you how many times I've been in a game of like D&D and someone's like, "How's your character?" And I'm like, on a scale of 1 to 11, I feel like a 7. Because like you don't reference hit points in conversation, you know.
Especially in D&D when you can fight when you have 1 hit point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I've had worse.
Yeah, nope. Branch riders, you get the wounded condition to you because you were shot in the arm. You just can't use your arm until it's healed. Period.
Yeah.
So even that is narrative in. Well, I might be hurt, but I could still headbutt someone because it's my arm, not my head.
Mhm.
Just a scratch one.
Yeah, it is but a scratch.
All right. Was there anything that came up in taking this book to actually becoming a book, Rich, that you hadn't anticipated in your conversations with Jack? Was there anything that like came up new, or was it very much like this is the process, this is how we do things? Just because this is a system that we have not done before.
Well,
Um,
it was a learning curve on Bodhana's end.
right.
Because once you've put all of your efforts and all your ideas and pulling all these things in there, what is the way that you then move it into the process, in the production process? And that's a large part of what Eddie was helping out, is talking to the gang about, okay, this is going to work, this is going to work. And I read through the manuscript, gave some points,
Hmm.
but I have to tell you, it was very, very clean and focused by the time it got to us.
Hmm.
So for us, the biggest thing we were doing was just how does a bill become a law? How do we go from this really cool text stuff that's playable in text form? How do we get that to be a book that people are going to be interested in and want to pick up and go, oh, I love those characters and all that sort of stuff.
Hmm.
And so just that, going back and forth on that process, what's useful for an art director, what's just a whole bunch of folders that the artist's going to be confused about if you give them too much reference,
Right.
um, things like that. And it's almost like we would do with any other book, except we were starting with a very clean manuscript, but that then we needed to talk about how does this work.
Hmm.
So kind of more of a teaching moment,
Yeah.
I guess, across the board than maybe we normally have, because we're talking to people who are more used to thinking this way. So
I can see that. Yeah, just bring people into like our process, which we've
right.
hammered out over the course of years,
And
and being
I
like,
mean,
here's how we do things.
Jack and I have been talking about, not in this specific detail, because now we have very specific cases, but in general, all through the years, as I would stagger into one of the Save Against Fear conventions and just go, I'm just going to sit here in the corner because I'm so exhausted. Well, what's going on? Oh, we had to do this, this, and this. Oh, okay. Blah, blah, blah.
Wow, that sounds like something I'll never have to
All right.
experience. 5 years later.
Now let's talk about Weird Al. Let's talk about MASH and
Yes.
Manos the Hand of Fate.
Oh,
So
Mash. I'm still in mourning, Loretta.
I'm no. But you did get to see her the week or 2 weeks before she passed. So I mean,
Yeah, about 3 weeks to a month. I got to meet
yeah.
Loretta Swit at a con in Jersey. So, see, folks, good things do come out of New Jersey.
No, they don't.
Say,
I'm not gonna tell my partner that y'all said that.
He knows I'm from Philly. We have to make fun of Jersey.
Technically, he's from Buffalo, but he grew up
as
in New
soon as
Jersey.
as much as I love a glass of water, I will talk about Jersey.
You gotta have your water.
What?
So,
Water?
yeah.
Water.
Water.
There's another R in there.
WAR, water. The Delco way is to say, like, murder, water.
Have you seen the SNL sketch about that?
Oh, yeah. You murdered my daughter.
They murdered my daughter in the water.
Kids make fun
That
of
was a
me
great
all the
sketch.
time.
It was a
That
really good sketch.
They went to the Wawa.
I mean, I go to Wawa at least 3 times a week, so believe me, I have.
We have one in York now. Woohoo!
Yep.
Two
They've expanded out. There's one up now near my daughter who's further out than Jack is in Pennsylvania. The very first one, and they were there when they opened. Like, what is wrong with you? You've been to Wawa's your whole life. But now this is ours.
Yeah, I went to ours when it opened only because after I moved to Maryland, the closest Wawa to me was like 20 minutes, and that was just far enough to be annoying. Because you want to go there when you want to like step away from your desk for 5 minutes to get a sub for lunch. And then I remember I was just going to like the Walgreens one day and I saw the big sign. It was like Wawa coming soon, and I was like, "Oh my God, we're getting one! We're getting one! It's happening!" So now, yeah, probably I'm there at least twice a week, like easily, because that's my convenience store. Anyway, that's not important to branch riders, although I do feel like there could be, like, branches that are, like, the, Sheetz, Wawa, Royal Farms fighting forces.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, basically, anybody who's not in this part of the country or has never heard of this, they're convenience stores.
But they're convenience stores that have food, and therefore people have very strong opinions about which one's the best.
And most of the people go into Wawa or buying cigarettes, because I once stood there for like a half an hour because I was stuck there waiting for somebody, and just watching the number of people that came in there, and it was mostly cigarettes.
Yeah. Cigarettes, soft pretzels, and the coffee.
I feel like
coffee.
I feel like ours is mostly pickup orders at this point, just based on what I see flying around. But
we have like mafia level battles in New York over Rudder, Sheetz, Royal Farms, or Wawa. Like that's like people are throwing down.
And I'm saying that could be a fun realm to invent for branch riders.
Everybody's got their own territory.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it.
Oh, it's like the old Star Trek episode.
Oh, with Bailey and Loki?
No, the one with the mobsters.
Oh, a piece of the action.
Yeah.
With Vic Tayback.
Actually, he was one of the mobsters. He had the little straw boater hat, which was quite nice.
Mel from Alice.
Well,
ask your parents.
We're gonna. First of all, I've seen Star Trek. Second of all, we're getting back on track.
We are branch riders.
I'm gonna go ahead and ask these couple questions that we've gotten. If anybody else has questions while we're answering these, please put them in the chat. We've got about 20 minutes left of the panel.
Either about branch riders, old TV.
If y'all want to derail this panel further, feel free to ask about old TV, about local East Coast convenience store chains.
MST3K.
I can help you out here, Dixie, to get us fully back on track. So, one thing I did want to mention, everybody, is that late pledges are still available if you have not yet backed branch riders. And as is tradition within the Onyx Path family, backers currently, they have access to the Players chapter, the Gifts chapter, the GM chapter, all 8 of the Realm guides. I'm getting ready as right after I get off of here, we're going to be dropping the Nexus chapter, which is the final world building chapter. So you have access to the character sheet at the Mo, exposure tracker, the condition cards, everything that you need to play and try out the system for yourself, available to all backers.
Mm-hmm.
So currently we're sitting at 281 backers. I would love, by the time we get done with Origins in 2 weeks, where we're also going to be play testing and showcasing the system, I would love to be over 300 before we finish up everything. So please, if you haven't, go check it out. It's only $25 buy-in for the system. It is PDF delivered, but you do have your option of POD. So I guess there's my little formal plug.
It is tariff-free.
Yep.
Don't have to worry about that.
That is the best thing about PDFs and PODs right now, is that they are not, well, at least if you're in the U.S. or ordering from some place where they print the PODs. But yeah, like that is something we don't have to worry about right now, thank God.
Canadian POD printer, there's European POD printers, so.
Exactly. So as of right now, it's good. It's doable. Okay, so a couple questions. Someone asked if it was okay to add more homebrew worlds in branch riders, like if they want to make their own world, like my Wawa Sheets Rudders Riffo world.
Yeah, we actually an entire chapter of the book is devoted not only to creating your own realms, but creating your own locations, because we give you a starter location for each realm. It's a place where adventure takes place. Within that, we give you locations, people, important events. We give you a setting background. We also give you 8 story starters for that realm specifically, but we encourage you to create your own locations. Maybe in the heights, where in our starter setting, everybody has superpowers. Maybe you don't want that. Maybe you want to tell a story where only the rich elite have superpowers, or maybe only certain generations have superpowers. It's your world, and we want to tell as many different types of stories. So we give you guidelines on how to create your own locations, even how to create your own realms. Maybe you want a gothic realm that is, more horror based. You can completely do that, and we give you guidelines, as well as, some sample questions you can ask when you're creating your own locations. And there's also guidelines in there for creating your own gifts, creating your own powers, because the enemy of the game, the Blight, they have specific powers that are like targeted strikes against the branch riders. So you may have picked a character and you're like, I'm never going to use social. There are Blight that target social as an approach. So it's naturally trying to hit you where you're weakest. But we give advice on how to create your own Blights and to add your own content, because that's another very vibrant part of what we do therapeutically. But we also know a lot of people like to homebrew. They like to create their own settings, their own elements, and we encourage that. We actually envision, once the system is released, we would love to have user-generated content up so that people can submit their own settings that you can try and, go adventuring in somebody else's playground. Sharing your toys makes the world a better place,
Yeah.
So
And once we get to that stage, we're going to have a discussion about, what do we want to do with community content? Is that something that we can get together with Drive Through on and provide a community content site for branch riders? So we're not there yet, mostly because
not there yet.
the emphasis is focusing on fine tuning and finishing the visuals and the layout and getting the PDF going. So
Yeah, bear in mind,
that's
anytime
legit.
we're on a panel, Jack will say something from his ADD-addled brain and go, "Oh man, we're gonna totally blah 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 blah," and then everyone goes, "Jack, we don't make promises." I was like, "Oh yeah, you're right. I'm talking too far ahead." Yes, get the book done. Get the book done. So excited. But yes, you can totally create your own stuff. We encourage it as part of the book.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, whether or not it gets published somewhere online will be a different conversation.
Right.
But you can, for free, put your homebrew anywhere you want to. That's just allowed. Like, no one's going to stop you.
And just have fun with it.
Yeah.
Let people know.
If, like, you have a really cool idea for a branch, or you've written down, like, a cool paragraph of setting, and you just want to, like, throw it in the Discord, the Branch Writers panel, I'm sure Jack would love to see it.
Yeah.
And by panel, I mean channel, because I can't talk anymore either, because I'm also sick and have ADHD. But yeah.
And even the Kickstarter itself, we had multiple backers who created new Blights that we added to the book.
They're added to the book, yeah.
New gifts, new abilities. So yeah, even from just the crowdfunding was already showcasing how user-generated content could be very, very robust. So.
I mean, that's one of the things about sites like AO3. Like, you can make whatever content you want, you just can't monetize it unless people let you. That's how it works.
And being creative is another way to deal with the stresses that are affecting you. So it's definitely something that's encouraged.
Yeah, I mean, it is fascinating to me that, like, as somebody who's been in therapy and who's dealt with stuff, like, I think everybody who role plays deals with something through their role playing, even if it's just something little, like something that's kind of like annoying you, or you trying to try out like a new personality trait, or for some people it's trying out a new gender or a new sexuality, like they're trying to like learn about themselves. And I think that's been going on as long as role playing games have been a thing. There have always been people who have used it to explore parts of themselves they weren't quite comfortable with. And so taking that and actually having like a codified therapeutic way to do it for professionals is really nice because it is a good exercise to be able to step into somebody else's shoes and act the way they would act, whether that's to build confidence or whether that's to, like I said, learn about yourself or to learn how to mitigate your anger or whatever other problems you might be having. Yeah, it's really cool, and I love that branch writers, once again, codifies for people who are going to do it professionally, and also it's just a fun world to play in for folks who aren't doing it that way.
That's why it always seemed like a natural fit. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and especially with the narrative story, because that's one of the biggest benefits is creating things with each other. We even knew way back that when people were wargaming after Franco-Prussian War and such, like people in hospitals were wargaming with each other, sharing and trading their experiences on the battlefield. That was therapeutic, and that wasn't by design, but just sharing in that experience together opened up people to become more vulnerable. Share. So getting around a table, you'll share parts of yourself that maybe you won't share with others because of that closeness of the community.
Absolutely, the wargaming aspect of if you've been through combat, which is totally out of control around you, if you could sit there with little chits that represent pieces of your army and move them around, you're garnering control.
Yep.
Over the situation that puts you into so much peril. That's another very strong thing that I think is part of the DNA of our hobby.
Absolutely.
Somebody did ask, obviously, thank you for pointing this out. Please keep this anonymous, obviously, for HIPAA compliance, etc. But do you have any kind of specific anecdotes and ways that you've seen branch writers help, even if you have to keep them a little vague for obvious reasons?
Yeah, I mean, I can give some simple snippet kind of adventures in the Rails, which is the post-apocalyptic world where tainted juice, which is animal DNA meant to, expedite athletic prowess. We use that in one adventure to help someone open up and talk about their experience of losing people to drug abuse. Because within this setting of the Rails, people take this juice to become better, stronger, faster, but their bodies take it and it mutates and they become feral. They are uncontrollable. They engage in
animal characteristics.
Yeah, exactly. Which very much by design was used as an example to kind of elucidate how we lose people to drugs and alcohol, and how when they take the substance, we lose them to the substance. So I mean, sometimes it's kind of on the head like that. In other ways, it is helping people just with confidence see, yes, sometimes you're going to take a choice and you're going to take an action that maybe wasn't the best choice. Like one of the things that we've seen as a through line, just specifically 10 to 14-year-olds, is I can't even fairly call it analysis paralysis, because it's more than that. It is, if I can't immediately be highly proficient in a thing within 5 minutes of doing it, I am an abject failure.
That's very much an autistic and ADHD thing, because I do that too sometimes. I'm very like, oh God, like I'm not perfect. I'm gonna go die.
Yep, and just very, very systematic and intentional application of something like increasing and decreasing the exposure tracker. That, I mean, that tool is a knob that we can turn back and forth. We bear a lot of things in mind, like, any kind of, diagnoses or experience that person has, as well as developmental age and maturity level, all that good stuff. But, that's what this model, I always make the reference during our training that we're kind of like Professor X in the danger room. We can set whatever scenario that we would like, and we can turn up and turn down different knobs on the experience. We could put more emotional content if we want. We could put more real world analogous consequences in there to be able to stimulate or motivate a certain direction for discussion. But the biggest part is that we like to always keep that organic. So the client says, hey, wait a minute, why am I feeling the way I feel when I talk to my mom right now in this game? And we'll totally, yes, we built a mom character that we know this is the issue this person has with that person in their life. We use a lot of sometimes we get pretty pretty adult with some of the concepts. We had at the first the kids were like, well, we want a more mature game. Okay, we did an adventure in the burrows, which is actually, if you tune in tomorrow at 7 a.m. to our actual play of Branch Riders, we're going to be showcasing the burrows as the realm of the adventure, and it's going to be a pretty serious topic that we do. But the kids were they're kind of messing around with the system, kind of toying with it. And I was like, remember, your job as a branch rider is very serious.
Mm-hmm.
And they started revealing their gifts to other people. And there's a renegade branch rider in the burrows named Jacobo, who is very, very, very strongly opposed to tearing the curtain.
Mm-hmm.
In our adventure, Jacobo, like, okay, you expose these poor citizens to your gifts. You've let them know that there's realms, and he just murdered them. He just shot them all dead, and the players were like, what? And I said, I want to check in with you guys. You said you wanted a mature, serious game. Your job is not a joke. Lives are on the line. You're going here to help people. And they were like, and it was a powerful moment of change for them where there was import to what they were doing. There was something on the line. So yeah, we don't shy away from some of this mature stuff in our sessions. You know what I mean? But those are older teens.
If that's what the session calls for, and that's what is going to be good for the people playing.
Yeah.
But I've also heard you talking about, like, it could also be as simple as someone who, like, has trouble communicating. And, like, this is a safe space for them to communicate where they're not them, so they have, like, less of a anxiety because it's not them talking. It's, like, someone else talking. Like you're playing a character. And I've felt comfortable doing things while role-playing that maybe I wouldn't be comfortable doing as Dixie. Because you're playing a character and everybody understands that, and so they don't hold it against you. It doesn't become like a grudge.
Yeah, well, and it's even the consequences that your character experiences are not real-world consequences.
Right.
You can be a little bit more smarmy than you might be in real life, or you could be a little bit more adventurous taking chances because it's in a game. Mm-hmm. We encourage our kids all the time. Take chances. Well, what if I mess up? Kid, I'm sorry I have to be the one to break it to you. You're gonna. That's part of life, my dude. It's okay.
It's okay to mess up.
So an old quote from a show that I love. There's The New Adventures of Mighty Mouse by Ralph Bakshi. Not a nice man. However, the cartoon was funny. And this Batman rib, he had a quote that I carry with me to this day. We all make mistakes, Cal. That's why they put rubber in the ends of pencils. Like it, we're going to make a mess. It's okay,
Literally, some of my business cards say it's okay to make mistakes on them because I'm a copy editor, and that's what I do.
Thank you for making mistakes. It gives me something.
Yes, I love being employed. Please continue to mix up your M dashes and N dashes. I am here for.
I will. Don't you worry.
I don't even know what an M dash is.
It's a dash the width of an M.
Oh,
as opposed to an N.
As opposed to a dash the width of an N, as opposed to a hyphen.
Oh, wait, I'm looking back at the edit notes. Now I know what those are.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I think I did put a lot of M dashes into your draft because they were M dashes before. It's fine. It's fine. We have one more question that's more of a funny one. What specifically 1980s TV series would be the best basis for a campaign using branch riders?
Oh my gosh!
So let's look at when we look at these things. It's usually jamming. It's a merger. It's two ideas jamming into each other. So the Wild West and art,
right,
or anthropomorphic animals in noir. So we could probably jam two 1980s TV shows together to make this thing.
I don't know if it's 80s. It might be 90s. But I'm going to do it anyway. Misfits of Science meets Sliders.
I knew you were going to go for Misfits of Science.
Oh, serious?
Yes.
Oh, Johnny Thunder, baby. Best hero ever. Yeah, please ask your grandparents about this. Most of the audience there. Misfits of Science. You have these strange abilities and powers. You're kind of a bag of misfits.
It had Courtney Cox from Friends in it.
Yes, exactly. She had telekinesis powers. Well, there's no way I could have worked square pegs into it, Rich, so I had to go with...
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like you could do something as simple as it's Knight Rider,
You could.
but with square pegs are the people who are in the car.
Isn't that Turbo Teen?
I'm sure every idea has been replicated by 80s TV. They're churning that stuff out.
Yeah, that's true. No, I would have to say that's probably the best synthesis that I could state. Those two getting thrown together.
Okay,
Yeah.
I guess I have to pick one too. Because I was born in the 80s, I'm gonna stick with the cartoon side of things, because that's what I mostly remember from the 80s. So I'm going to mix Gem and the Holograms and Inspector Gadget. It's Gem and the Holograms, but now there's gadgets. So there's musicals, there's secret identities, there's holograms, there's all kinds of cool stuff. There's 3 original songs per episode. Battle of the Bands, but also there's gadgeteering and a big bad evil guy happening.
Oh my God. I could see Gem and the Holograms in either the Borderland or the Party. Like, yeah.
I rewatched that as an adult, and I will probably do so again at some point because that was my favorite cartoon when I was a kid. And all I can say is that in the very, very first episode, watching it as an adult, the rival band, the Misfits, does try to bomb an orphanage. And they should have just been reported as domestic terrorists and gone to jail immediately.
But they're the Misfits. Their songs are better.
They're always going to bomb an
I was a
orphanage.
big Misfits fan, and then I grew up to be somebody that's had green hair for 10 years, so, like, causation? Correlation? I don't know.
Maybe. Now, I actually got the opportunity to interview the creator of Gem and the main writer of the series, as well as Buzz Dixon and Larry at a oh my God, it was
the great Larry Howard.
Oh, love that man. I was like, you kidnapped Frank Burns once.
He was actually in MASH. That's why you love him.
That story, yeah.
So,
all right,
we're
getting towards wrapping up. Is there anything else that you'd like to say, that you'd like to touch on that we didn't get around to before we close this panel?
I mean, outside of just getting people to, go to the Kickstarter, check out the page. If you haven't backed the system, you will definitely be more than entertained by everything that we have to offer. Like I said, all the 8 realms that we created have a lot of variance to them. And again, if you want to see the system in action, join us tomorrow morning, 7:00 a.m. I believe it's Plastic Age Plays is where the actual plays are, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
That's Eastern U.S. time, daylight savings time. So if you're in Europe and everything, that's actually more in your afternoon zone. And if you're in California, well, you're going to be up early.
Yeah, you're good. But we're going to do a great adventure there. But please check it out, back the system. And thank you for everyone who has supported it. And again, everybody who supported Bodhana. Please check out our website, thebodhanagroup.org, to see all the wonderful programs that we do. And as usual, it's awesome to now more formally becoming a part of the Onyx Path family. And that makes me, do one of the hearts that I rarely do that. That's feels good.
And if for any reason, like myself, who doesn't get up at 7 in the morning, you can't watch the panel tomorrow, it will eventually be on YouTube for people, or the panel, the actual play, for people that want to see it played. Because I love you, Chuck, but I'm not getting up at 6:30 in the morning to watch you run a game.
I love me, and I'm amazed I'm getting up at 6 to prepare for this.
Someone did ask when late pledges end. That's kind of a last-minute question, but it's a good one.
It's very good. At this point, we don't have a date because we're really only doing a PDF release, so we don't have to worry about shipping or mailing anything. So I think we have the availability to leave it for as long as we would need to. Is that a good answer?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's one of those things. You definitely have a few months because we're not gonna stop doing it at least until we're ready to get the PDF out to backers, and then we'll see what their system is set up like. I know how it would work on BackerKit, but on Kickstarter, we have to make sure that we're not stumbling over some weird programming thing.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you,
Thanks,
Jack
everybody.
and Rich, for hanging out.
Absolutely.
I will be up at the, in my opinion, ungodly hour of 9:30 in the morning to do a panel. So I'll see everybody next time on the Pugmire panel. Which y'all can all thank my boyfriend for getting me up in the morning. So have A good day, everybody.
Bye bye.
Bye
Thanks
bye.
for watching.
Thank you. Stay on the path.